Jacqueline Bawden. Randy, teach me how to cook brisket in the oven. I don't know how to cook brisket, so guess what? We're gonna do an episode on it. This is dinner party tonight. The holidays are coming, the best time of year. One of the big holidays is Thanksgiving in America. It's usually an absolute revolting feast of engorgement. And everybody passes out in front of football afterwards, in case you're not American. But you can also make a very elegant Thanksgiving. I think my Thanksgiving is fairly elegant, even though there is an excess of foods. Here's the deal. You don't have to make a turkey. I personally use a Kelly Bronze, which is a tiny farm in Virginia where they grow Kelly Bronze the best. I've been using them for years. You can watch CCTV of the animals, and it's a great, great farm. But anyways, you don't have to make a turkey, or you can make a turkey and something else. Why not talk about brisket? So what is a brisket? A brisket is kind of the lower chest area of a cow. It's defined as a cheap cut, and I believe that cooks are really judged on how they cook something that's not a filet mignon, which basically anybody can cook as long as they don't overcook it, or a ribeye or something. If you can cook something that's a little difficult and not the choicest thing, that means you're probably stepping up in your cook ladder. Brisket is in many cultures. In Brazil, they call it chest meat, translated directly, okay? But it's also it's a big Jewish tradition meat. It's in a lot of celebrations, kind of like standing rib roast, I guess, for Christmas, but different. We had a request from a Miss Jacqueline Bawden. How do you make brisket in the oven? Well, like many episodes of Dinner Party Tonight, I have never done this before. I researched it pretty heavily, Lynn researched it, and I decided to make a sort of false smoked brisket instead of the pot roast style brisket. Now, we will discuss this as we go. If it doesn't work, look up pot roast brisket. But we're gonna make sort of a crusted brisket. We're gonna serve it with some very simple braised cabbage, which is actually something you should have in your repertoire for fall and winter. It's delicious and hearty and yummy. And we're gonna make a cucumber salad. And that's it. So let's make some oven smoked brisket. So when you go to the butcher shop and you buy your brisket, after which you will they will ask you, do you want the first cut or the second cut? I am not that educated about brisket. However, speaking to Jay at Hudson & Charles, we chose for this the second cut, which has more fat. This is a 5-pound second cut. When I bought this, it was like this. It was one huge piece. Jay told me, don't cut it like this ever, basically, especially when you're eating it. He said to cut the piece like this, which I did. This is the magic of television one. So let's talk about dry brines. So you can see this is a very marbled piece of meat with a lot of connective tissue. So this kind of stuff, that's fascia. If you cook this fast and hot, it's gonna seize up like this and be basically inedible. So what you have to do is coax the fascia to melt, which is what we're doing in a braise or a pot roast or a dry rub. You don't want to trim all the fat, but it's not the world's worst idea to take some of this off. All right, now what's in the dry rub? Smoked salt. Smoked salt is literally in my case, Malden salt that has had smoke drifted through it. It smells divine. So I'm just gonna put some in this bowl. And then you want quite a lot of brown sugar because this is gonna make your crust. A cup, I eyeballed it. Think about what you're doing. You're a dinner partier, okay? You're making a delicious thing. So this should taste good because it's gonna impart that flavor to your brisket. So I don't know, smoked salt and brown sugar sounds good just right like that. You could just put salt and pepper on it too, if you don't feel like doing any of this. We're gonna use some smoked paprika, quite a lot. It should be red, is what I'm trying to tell you. Put in some ground cumin, about a tablespoon. Ground coriander, if you want. That's what I'm gonna use this. About a tablespoon of this. So don't be too precious, you know? And then taste it. If it tastes too sugary or too salty, change it. Don't be scared of this stuff, okay? I'm gonna use this, it's ground up dried porcini mushrooms. Okay, it's fancy. Granulated onion. Oh yeah. This is really, really good garlic. It's single origin. Really smells like garlic. Pepper. It's so good. Okay, so you see what this looks like? So this is called a mohawk, he called this. Jay called this. I'm gonna take a little bit of this connective tissue out. We don't wanna take it all out because as he slowly cooks, that's what's gonna make it beautiful. Put the rub onto the brisket. Now most of this is gonna fall off when I turn it, and then we're gonna turn it back, and then we're gonna wrap it so it's gonna stick on it. So you don't have to worry too much about it not sticking. So this is kind of like Change Your Life chicken, but not really, because this is quite spicy and we want it to make a thick crust, whereas in Change Your Life, you wipe it off. It's not gonna make the bark that the smoked ones have. But I don't have a smoker. That's a whole world of cooking that I just don't know anything about. The smoker guys, I don't know anything about that. I don't know about you, but it already looks good. So you know what we say here? If it looks and tastes good raw, it's gonna look and taste good cooked. Should be fat side up. I think this is the fat side, guys. Wrap it tightly. Now that can go in the fridge overnight. Here's the magic of television one. So I did this one last night. Oh, it already looks good, doesn't it? Now why did it weep? It wept because the salt pulled liquid out of the meat. It's like a dry brine. Well, we're gonna have to get this onto here without spilling this extremely red staining liquid. That looks pretty good to me. So now I'm gonna make this weird fake smoky thing by you putting about 3 cups of water in here and liquid smoke. Now your liquid smoke, there's lots of them. We have also this fantastic one, Wright's, which is hickory. I might mix them. The ingredients should say water and smoke. Okay, this one says water and smoke. Ta-da! And this one says water and smoke. Ta-da! If it says smoke flavor, don't buy that. This is a very low pan, so I may not use 3 cups and I may top it up as we go. 3 cups of water in the bottom. I'm gonna use hot water. This is 2 cups. I think that might be enough, but we'll see. I don't want it to be too smoky. That's strong, right? We use a little bit of the other brand. Okay, here we go. Now maybe it is 3 cups. I'm just gonna put another almost cup in here. I don't want it to touch the bottom, so I'm looking very carefully here. Yeah, they were right. Now I'm gonna cover this with foil, and I'm gonna stick a thermometer. If you have an oven-safe thermometer that stays in the oven, point it so you can see it, so you don't have to open and close the oven. And if you have one of these, it's easier because this is outside the pan. And we're gonna stick this through the foil. So I want to put the thermometer here, I think. So I brought this to room temperature, or in the French terms, I chambreed it. It should not be cold. I'm sticking this through and into the brisket. This is at 250. Do not be tempted to raise the temperature. I'm actually gonna lower this because I'm on convection. So I put it down to 240. Here we go. Good luck, little brisket. Oh, not so little, I guess. We're gonna roast this with the foil until it hits around 175. Then we're gonna take off the foil and continue to roast it until it reaches 195. The biggest warnings on the internet, and my cook's instinct tells me, it could take up to 5.5 hours. So the timings, you know, where'd you put the thermometer? Is it in the thickest part? Is it in the thinnest part? How does your oven work? Are you using convection? The timings will vary. It's gonna take a long time. It's like a coq au vin that you're doing, but it's in the oven. Brisket. Why don't you risk it? Try a brisket. We're gonna see what happens here. Cucumber salad. Now, we're serving this with the brisket. You can make this a day in advance, certainly. The recipe I'm gonna do is a little bit Japanese, so I think my instinct tells me that would be a nice sort of sharp accompaniment to the brisket. A vinegary, spicy kind of salad. I'm going to use white rice wine vinegar. You can see the mother in there. That's the fermented part of the vinegar. This is the most incredible vinegar company called American Vinegar Works. They are superb. Some sesame oil, which is very strong. Be careful with this flavor. We're gonna use some pink peppercorns, a little bit of soy sauce, and some sesame seeds. Now you're remembering you've seen this salad at maybe a Japanese restaurant. And then we're gonna cut up a little parsley in there. So let's make cucumber salad. This could not be easier. I wanna see if this is too small. It's a little bit thin. This is a great adjustable mandolin. So what I'm doing is I'm lowering the thing so that the space between the blade and the guide is bigger, and it makes a bigger slice, like that. I think that's good. Slice the cucumber. Remember when you're slicing something to occasionally spin it so you don't get one side smaller. Turn, turn. Remember, the mandolin is the most deadly item in your kitchen. Don't go further than that. That's skirting with danger. Put the cucumber in a bowl. That's an English cucumber. You can use the fabulous Persian cucumber. A little bit of sesame oil. You should have sesame oil in your house because it's great. A little bit of rice wine vinegar. Now, don't worry about this kind of thing. You can always change it if you don't like the levels, you know? Salt. So we're doing a sort of almost pickled cucumber salad. You've had it. You've definitely had this if you've been to a Japanese restaurant. These will weep. In other words, the water will come out slightly. So you want to drain this bowl after it's been sitting in the fridge. A little bit of soy sauce, not too much. You're gonna have to drain this, trust me. Sesame seeds, both black and white. Ebony and ivory live together in perfect harmony, side by side on my piano keyboard. Oh, why can't we? So I'm one of the people who thinks Paul McCartney wrote all the Beatles songs. It's very obvious the ones that John Lennon wrote. They collaborated, but it was mostly Paul McCartney. Look how pretty. Oh my goodness gracious me. Now I'm gonna crush up some pink peppercorns to make a color in here. You could also use Aleppo pepper. I mean, what a nice accompaniment for a super rich brisket, right? Sort of sharp, spicy. Not the same spice though. You don't wanna serve everything with the same spice. You want people to have explosions of taste in their mouth. This needs to sit because in its sitting, it is pickling, essentially. You could put cilantro in this, but if you're doing a party, there's kind of a lot of people in the world who aren't crazy about cilantro. I would give the option. I would not use it in case you have people at your party that don't like it. Perusi. Okay, this is fabulous. I love it. I love the way it looks. I love everything about it. I'm gonna marry it. A little more vinegar and it goes in the fridge. Then we're gonna toss it. Then we're gonna drain it before we serve it. Because there's gonna be quite a lot of liquid in the bottom. I don't know why I'm doing this, because we're gonna drain it and it's gonna make a mess again. But my refrigerator doesn't like it. There's messy things in there. So that's it. I'm gonna cover this with saran wrap and put it in the fridge. Let's make braised cabbage. Braising is slow cooking liquid. It's not boiling, it's braising. It's like this. Bloop, bloop, bloop. It's not bloop, and it's not, okay? This is kind of the Bon Appetit recipe. Before I make the slices of the cabbage, I want to talk about my new pans. So this is a fabulous sized Lodge, which is the king of cast iron. I think that is service level. It's so beautiful for Thanksgiving, right? And then this brand, which is called Victoria, and it's made in Colombia. Stunning, right? Roast chicken with root vegetables or something, right? So what do you do with a cast iron pan? I'm just gonna tell you this quickly. This whole thing about don't ever use soap on it, it's not true, okay? It's seasoned in the factory, I'll explain that in a second, at extremely high heat that you can't reproduce here. So it's already permeated with oil. However, you have to replenish that seasoning. If something sticks and you have to use soap, it's not the end of the world. How do you season a pan? Put it on the stove, heat it up, put some oil in it, spread the oil with a paper cloth so it's shiny, and let it almost smoke, turn off the heat, and wipe the oil out. Seasoned pan. They're very hardy. Your children's children can use this pan. I have a pan from my dad's house that you can cook a fried egg in it and it flips. And it's cast iron. So you can season them enough to make them non-stick. Let's cut this with our Paraiusi. So you see this brown thing? If you go to a restaurant and you see that on the bottom of your salad, or your cabbage, don't go there again. We're gonna make wedges. Oh yeah, that's a nice cabbage. I'm using a little tomato paste. I'm gonna spice it up. But I wanna be careful not to use the same spices as are in our brisket. I'm gonna spice this. It's basically like the bottom of the pan and then we're gonna put water and it's gonna braise. But this is like the heart of your braise. So I'm thinking, what would be good in this? I'm gonna use this and water. When they ask you to put water, I'm gonna use wine and water. I'm thinking, I don't wanna use cumin, I don't wanna use coriander, I don't wanna use too many flavors that are in that other thing. So I have to think about this. Pfeffer, salt, shallot. So this takes about 30 to 40 minutes in the oven. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually brown the cabbage before we put it in the braise. Grind up some green peppercorns in my skepschult. A little bit of green pepper. All the ones that didn't get ground came out first, that's funny. For now, that's it, I think. Ooh, delicious. All right, let's go to the stove. So we're gonna put some olive oil in here, and we're just gonna color this. Hot pan, olive oil. That's right. I chose green cabbage because the brisket is red. It's gonna be a little red because I'm using this, but it's gonna be mostly green and purple, which I think, with the shallots, which I think is good. Okay, here we go. It's gonna take a few minutes. When the cabbage is browned a little bit and has some color, take it off the stove. I'm gonna put a little olive oil in. Hot pan, olive oil. Just a little bit. Cook these down un pooty poo. I love my new large pan. They're not expensive. This is great for steak, pork chops, lamb chops. My dad used to call me Lamb Chop. I was always scared of Lamb Chop the puppet. That lady scared me. She was creepy and the puppets were creepy. I would go so far as to say scary. I'm now going to cook the tomato paste until it slightly browns, slightly changes color. That's what we want. It's slightly changing color. I'm just gonna cook this down a little bit. Oh, I'm gonna check the temperature on our brisket. Brisket is also another way to say it. Brisket, I think, is funnier. Uh-oh, almost at 160, 15 degrees until we take the tinfoil off. How much of this could you do before they come over? You could probably do it, you could brown your cabbage. You could mise en place your shallots, your spiced tomato. You can prep this in advance and then have the cabbage in the liquid and then shove it in the oven. This takes about 30 to 40 minutes in a 350 oven. 2 ways you can do this if you only have one oven. Okay, number one, the brisket has to rest for about 30 minutes. So you could jack the oven up when you take the brisket out and put it in. Or you can braise it on the stovetop like I do the coq au vin, where it's just, you know, gently bubbling. Okay, it's beginning to change color. It's a little darker. I'm gonna nestle our cabbages in a uniform manner, comme ça. So it came apart a little bit from the browning, which is fine. I'm just putting the loose pieces in. Now I'm gonna put some liquid, wine. I put about a quarter of the way up in wine, finish it halfway up with water, which I object to, but I don't have any vegetable stock. Okay, bring this up to a boil just once before you start the braise, okay? So that's fine. Here we go. Goodbye, cabbages. Don't be savage, make braised cabbage. So you want to turn this over about halfway through so both sides get beautifully glazed. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Gently spin these again, or the bigger ones, just to get a beautiful red yumminess appearance all over the place. You could cut some dill over this, or parsley if you wanted. It's hearty. It's not, you know, July 10th or something, which happens to be my brother and Jillian's birthday, which is why my brain picked it out. This is really fall or winter, Thanksgiving, yumminess. You could sprinkle some roasted nuts on this if you wanted. Braised cabbage, can't go wrong with that. Come on! Give me 170 at least! Damn. Let me tell you a little something that we learned today. Slow cooking a larger piece of meat, which we have done, usually in a smoker this applies, but I believe it applies here also. It plateaus, the temperature plateaus while the liquid inside the larger cut is evaporating and moving. It stalls. It's called the stall. Now, apparently smoker people, know all about this, okay? But ours has been in now for 6 hours, and it's stalled out. So either the thermometer is wrong, which it isn't. It has gone down a degree or two from 170, so we're a little confused. But what we're gonna do is we're going to remove the foil and take our chances getting it up to 195. Looks pretty good. We'll see what happens. So, today we learned about the stall, which we definitely experienced to the extent that we do not have the brisket out to show you. It's going up now, it's definitely moving now, but it definitely stalled, so it was kind of interesting. If you have a dinner party, I would allot 7 to 9 hours. If you have to reheat it, it's fine. But today we made a beautiful cucumber salad, very bright, almost like a condiment in a funny way. And we made this very rich braised cabbage, which ended up looking sort of like the same color as the brisket, which I wanted to avoid, but oh well. These are great dishes for Thanksgiving. Around 2027, when we take the brisket out and slice it, you'll see that it's as festive as a turkey. But there's many other things you can make for Thanksgiving. You don't have to make a turkey, you don't have to make a brisket. You can make vegetable lasagna, pork tenderloin. You can do chicken ballotine, which is I do around my turkey. It's very eleganza. You can do a standing rib roast, which is quite intense for Thanksgiving, but certainly for a holiday or Christmas. Beef Wellington, venison Wellington. You can do vegetable Wellington. Look it up. Interesting. Wellington just means encased in puff pastry with a barrier. That's all it means, okay? So Wellington anything. Wellington a carrot. Wellington your dog. Wellington your friend. So you can make all these fantastic things. Have fun. And you know what you can also do? Invite your friends and family over for Thanksgiving and have Chinese food. Like I always tell you, they just want to see you, man. They don't care that you don't have matching forks. Nobody cares that you don't have the right glasses. So here's to Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in 2029 when the brisket's done.
I'm so glad my brisket is finally ready. I've aged a few years waiting for it, but now it's finally done.
It took 8 hours. It's at 195, it's coming out. Now what I'm gonna do with it, oh, look at that. Oh, ho, ho. What am I gonna do with it? I'm gonna tent it for about 30 minutes. Like this. A brisket is kind of a weird skill, and it's my first brisket, so it may not be perfect. But I'm glad to make it with you guys. It did take a solid 8 hours. I'm not gonna lie. Brisket, brisket. Rip Van Winkle, our sleepy brisket friend, is ready. He's rested for 30 minutes. I cannot impart to you the importance of the resting period. It needs to rest a little bit, come to a more natural temperature. I will say it looks rather gorgeous. So I'm just gonna pick it up gently and set it on this serving tray. You can put a little parsley here, you know, just to make the tray look nice. Now, hopefully this is okay. I've never made this before, so we don't know. So you don't cut brisket, or really any steak, any beef, on the grain, which would be this way. So I'm gonna cut against the grain. I can see the grain. It's going this way. So this is against the grain. I'm just gonna hold it like this. Cut a piece. Okay. So try not to saw. Oh boy, guys. Somebody? Emily? She's here. Might be spicy.
Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Is it tender?
Oh my God.
So you want to cut it thin, because the thicker it gets, the more chances of it being tough you're gonna run into. Shahar wants a piece. Just eat it.
Oh my God.
Nikki,
Yeah.
this is for you.
Wow. That's really, oh, it's spicy.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly cooked. I'm thrilled. It took longer than we thought. It took about 2.5, 3 hours longer than we predicted. But honestly, if you're just hanging out with friends the day before your party, it's a fun thing to have in the oven. It smells amazing. It's pretty special. Linny, you want to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, here you go.
Thank you. That's perfect.
So let's get some plates together, guys. We made a beautiful brisket. His nickname is Rip Van Winkle, because he slept in there for quite some time. We also made some beautiful braised cabbage, very rich and yummy. I would possibly do it without the tomato, maybe, just to keep it a different color from the brisket. Then we made a sort of beautiful cucumber, almost condiment, that will add a sharp, piquant flavor on the side of your beautiful Rip Van Winkle brisket. Tender and juicy. Happy Thanksgiving! Listen, thanks for watching. We risked it and made a brisket, and they came out great. Thank you guys so much for watching. It means the world to us, you don't even know. If you can, if you feel like it, hit the bell, the subscribe, whatever. All I can tell you is we're lost without you. Make a brisket, but don't make it the first time on the day of your party, because in your oven, as in mine, it might take, 3.5 hours longer than I told you. So, thank you, and have a great, beautiful Thanksgiving. Turkey feathers, I don't know.